Brought to you in association with Grendel Press. This is Werewolf the Podcast, a serial killer drama.
I left the police station without looking back, whistling a happy tune of sorts. Job done. Buildings like that preferred not to be stared at. They had a way of remembering faces, and the less it remembered in mine, well, the better for those who worked there, to be honest. Because those who knew of stuff like me had a horrible way of tidying themselves up after me, and often, and, well, always against their will. I can't lie. I like the idea of that, but do you know what? I can't really rely on the tidying up too often. People who made my life easy got pissy at me. Life was easier if they didn't get pissy at me. And the way to keep them from getting too pissy was not to need them too frequently. God, there was a lot of pissy in that, wasn't there? The afternoon light was thin and bright, the sort of light that made everything appear honest. It was the type of light that's not too bright but makes you squint anyway. It's fucking weird that light does that, isn't it? I mean, anyway. I didn't feel particularly honest about what I'd done in that cell. I mean, I had to do it. It was the sort of thing I do. I tried to feel satisfied, but that was difficult, you know. Well, I mean, it was something I would regret for a long time, I'm sure, but I'd done it, yeah. I'd purchased 2 E-Type Jaguars that morning for far more than they were fucking worth. British racing green and silver. Proper colours of proper cars when cars were proper colours. None of that modern greige shit. Greige is a sad blend of grey and beige. Okay, Giorgio Armani decided on that being a colour, but to be honest, he should stick to fucking clothes. Can you imagine a proper bloke asking for a fucking greige car? No. My new old cars were British racing green and silver. They had long bonnets like drawn blades.
Penis size issues much?
Smirked my invisible companion. That's a stereotype conclusion, I responded far too quickly. I do not have penis size issues that I have to make up for by buying a penis-shaped car, I told the wolf with vehemence. I thought about that. What had I just blurted? Oh shit. The truth was, well, the E-Type is a proper penis-like shaped car, isn't it? Did I have a deep-seated, unrecognised fear that I had a small dick? Anyway, moving on before I psychologically analyse that into a mental issue. There are some moments in a man's life when the acquisition of a beautiful machine is justification enough for celebration. This was now one.
Should killing Nisha not trouble you?
Rumbled the wolf soul in my head. It brought my thoughts of cars. Eh? The wolf soul started laughing hard. Oh, he was joking. Who was Nisha? I replied, continuing the joke. I knew who Nisha was. Of course I did. Not thick. I'd just killed him, I think. It'd just been work. People imagine killing to be accompanied by thunderclaps, violins, and moral reckoning. In reality, it was just kind of what it was, killing. It was just that. Stopping a living thing from, well, living. Others found it difficult for some reason. I never really got it. It's really very easy to kill, especially people. They're not really made to last, are they? I mean, they're very delicate if you think about it. But other folk, they find it difficult. The killing, that is. So I do what is probably needed, and I'm kind of proper good at it. I walked on. Fenrir walked beside me. Not a metaphor, quite a hallucination. He padded along the pavement as though the city had been built with him in its mind particularly. He was a much larger specimen of wolf than any zoological authority would approve of, black as coal dust, eyes bright like a diamond. Shit, was that a Rihanna song quote?
Not quite,
replied the wolf without any embarrassment. Anyway, but to continue the description I'd begun, Fenrir was made of that particular density of shadow that the eye refuses to focus on. Where that invisible wolf walked, people drifted away, leaving his space uninvaded. No one ran from him, and screaming from the scene, terror at his presence, but he was there in their heads, but not there in their heads. That made no fucking sense, but did. The English language is proper strange, innit, if you think about it. They couldn't see him in their heads, but they knew he was there in his... Anyway, don't matter, do it. Anyway, people simply adjusted their course with the unconscious precision of prey animals who've remembered something very old about what they used to be. A mother tugged her child close, and knowing no reason to do so, she just was struck by a feeling she should protect her young. While she did it, the protecting that is, the businessman had just there crossed the street without knowing why. Something in his head told him that he should. That something was right and should be listened to be honest. It was that proper ancient bit of his brain that cared not about the Dow Jones or the price of a barrel of oil, but about surviving the day when big beasties who want to eat you are about. What this avoidance meant was that the space around us formed and reformed like water parting around a stone. "It's always overly dramatic," I muttered. Fenrir didn't answer, not in verbalised words. How do I describe it to the unwolfy-souled? The wolf's presence pressed against the inside of my skull like the suggestion of blood and teeth. Blood and teeth in a nice way.
You enjoy drama of it.
The wolf flashed into my mind. "Don't flatter yourself," I replied. I did. Enjoy it. The drama we created in people. I mean, this duo, to be honest, was worth avoiding. We now moved through a market at the edge of the town where striped canvas stalls flapped like tired flags and the air smelled of frying onions, perfume and apples stacked in patient pyramids. Something was annoying the wolf. I felt it. "What is it?" I asked him.
What the fuck is an artisanal fucking market?
Asked the wolf.
Never heard of one of them before.
I considered this. They were fairly a new thing to me too. I think it's where the middle classes come and pay massively over the odds for organic things and gin someone made in their bath at home, flavoured with like rust, spit and rare and specialised horseshit. Replied the wolf.
Humans are proper mental, huh?
He said as he paused and looked around himself as if noticing the place properly for the first time.
Self-important wankers.
He continued.
What happened to farmers' markets?
"Oh, Fen, you need to keep up. They are so last decade," I told him, not breaking stride.
Huh?
He said in my head, and then began to catch up with me with his long, easy lope. As I continued to walk through the unknowing but feeling crowd, my hand passed over a crate, as casually as a blessing, and came away with a bright red, gigantic, orgasmic-looking apple. I sank my teeth into its flesh. The skin cracked loudly, juice ran over my thumb. It tasted of apple. I mean, not just apple, but apple! The hipster stallholder with his ironic moustache, leather apron and bowler hat saw me take his treasure. Of course he saw me take it. He was fucking meant to. I didn't want him to see what I took, then I would not let him see what I took, but I did, so he saw it. Wow, that was a bit of a sentence, eh?
You just love to cause shit, don't you?
Fen messaged. Yep. The Peaky Blinders costumed wanker called after me. "Hey, you!" he shouted. Hey, you? Hey, you wasn't very ironic. It wasn't hipster, was it? What should he have said in hipsterese? What hell, perhaps? Had he already fallen out of his character? Well, that was ironic. I stopped dead while holding the apple to my mouth, and an inward smile spread across my inward mouth. "Pay for that?" the bowler hat protested. It was a protest, a confrontation, but it was also cast as a question. I stopped, I turned. It was like no dramatic turn, no swirling Neo-style court, no cinematic moment, just a pivot. I then hit the man with a look, the look. I didn't snarl. I measured. The man's voice died in his throat. I love these moments. Civilization stops. All human rights and laws die for a moment of just consideration. Hairs rose where hairs had not risen before on the man, now at the centre of the world. For some unbeknownst reason to him, adrenaline was pumped into his veins at a far higher volume than this particular confrontation should have required. His animal brain was making decisions for him. In my eyes, he saw something he'd not seen since he was on safari as a child with his family. It had been in a far distant country in both time and space. He had seen my look before. It was the look an old lion had given him and his family in the tourist-laden truck before that lion decided whether it was worth the effort. The look said lion had given him before it decided not to bother. Around us, the market noise dipped slightly as nature smelled possible outcomes. A spoon clattered somewhere. Someone laughed too loudly and uncomfortably. Fenrir's tail swayed.
Give him bloody money before he messes his pants, ironically.
I felt irritation spark in me. He's prey,
Nope, he's not.
was the annoyed reply.
He's just an irritating arsehole trying to pretend he's important and taking money from idiots who pay for the overpriced produce which he can sell, thinking that he is doing the world good when we all know it's fucked. Look, he's using biodegradable brown paper bags. What a fucking special guy.
Ouch, I replied. Down on the world much? Fenrir snarled.
Look at the fucking price of the things. Apples, £3 each. Fuck's sake. Well, still, he's a robbing bastard robbing the overly compensated bastards who want to buy this shit. He's not prey.
I considered this. The wolf was old in the ways I was not. Old in hunger, old in restraint. I decided it was not worth arguing or making a point of the apple seller. I looked at the apple seller harder, taking another bite, considering him like that lion that the man had once met eyes with in the past. I took another bite of the apple, maintaining the stare. Both apple and stare were delicious to my senses. I chewed as I held his eyes even longer. Eventually, I simply smiled and nodded. Relief played across the stallholder's face, then confusion hit it. He didn't really understand the overwhelming relief he felt in that moment. Fine, I sighed as though inconvenienced by etiquette. I walked back toward the stall. The perfectly manicured man's hands were trembling as I closed the distance in on him. He was telling himself he was being foolish in his head. Me was only a man. Okay, just a man. A slightly larger, slightly terrifying man in a dark coat, but still with his apple juice on their fingers. The trembling did not stop as I got closer. I slipped my hand into my pocket. There is a particular terror in watching a predator produce something hidden. With cats it's their claws that unsheathe, with wolves it's teeth that become resplendent with a snarl. It contains centuries of evolutionary memory for a prey species' brain. The man braced for something horrid. I withdrew my wallet and offered a knowing smile. From the wallet I extracted a £50 note, crisp, indifferent, and laid it gently on the apples. For the inconvenience, I told him and smiled my best tourist smile. It wasn't a cruel smile. That would have been easier for the man to deal with. It was amused, as if the entire exchange were a private joke that the man had narrowly survived. And who knows, perhaps he had survived it. I reached out and patted the grocer's shoulder. The touch was light. He nearly collapsed with relief when the hand lifted. Keep the change, I added. Confrontation over. Done. I turned and walked away, biting the last of the apple and tossing the core casually over my right shoulder. The man was still holding the edge of his stall for the comfort of something solid to support him as an apple core bounced off his forehead. His heart hammered. He did not know what had just brushed past him, only that it had assessed him and found him unworthy of... Well, that was not worth thinking about. He would go home early that day, to Gwendolen, his hand-fasted partner, and Farquhar and Bean, his little ones. He would tell no one why he'd closed up early. He just felt he'd had a moment. Fen and I returned to the current of the town. The wolf kept pace, vast and silent.
You really enjoy doing that shit, eh?
Fenrir observed. A little.
You frightened him.
I paid.
You frightened him first.
I shrugged. Occupational hazard. Comes with the occupation of being a monstrous bastard. We passed shop windows. Reflections flickered. A man and something larger moving beside him, though only one cast a reliable reflection. My new old Jaguar waited somewhere beyond this square, polished and predatory in its own mechanical way. I imagined the feel of the wooden steering wheel beneath my hands. I imagined the engine's growl sweet as I licked the last of the apple juice from my fingers. Nisha was, well, he was already a closed file. The dead rarely lingered in my mind unless they had unfinished business. Nisha had none, and no business now to be there. The wolf's ears twitched. Just for a moment, just the moment, it felt as if someone else was watching us. Not prey, not the police, something older.
Lucifer,
asked the wolf. Not sure. I can't hear her music. I just dismissed it. Drink first, I said aloud, then we consider who's stalking whom. Fenrir's teeth showed in something that might have been agreement.
whoever is watching is someone who sees me, which is motivating.
There was amusement in his tone. I walked on and the crowd continued to part, not because they saw the wolf, but because somewhere beneath language and reason and city noise they felt him. I left the market behind. Ahead loomed a temple to government benefits, a Weatherspoons pub. The building had once been something noble, a bank perhaps, or a municipal hall, before being repurposed into a place of discounted lager and microwave cuisine. The signage buzzed faintly, even though it wasn't either neon nor electrified. The windows were large enough to expose the interior like an aquarium filled with the economically the poor and unfortunates. Fenrir slowed.
Are we going in there?
A hint of disgust in his voice. I need a drink, I told him.
This is not our usual hunting ground.
Everything is our hunting ground, I reassured him. I smiled as I pushed my way through the smokers who stood outside the hallowed hovel, all silent except for the expectoration of phlegm and the drag of fucked lungs sucking hard for a nicotine hit on mainly rollies and silk cut. They disgusted me. Addicts. Fen laughed. What? I asked.
We're all addicts,
he returned. I knew he was right. At least my addictions did not kill me. Others, me not so much. I pushed through the doors. The new stink hit me first, not any fresher than the stench of the smoke that I'd just left. Different though. Stale beer, frying oil, carpet cleaner doing its very best against forces it could not hope to defeat. There was also something faintly sweet and tragic like spilt cider and lots of unrealised potential. I paused just inside. The Phaeton Arms, my usual haunt, flickered in my mind. Dark wood, low light, goblins gambling in corners, zombies arguing about philosophy and slow, thoughtful groans. It had a certain charm. Predatory, yes. Sinister, absolutely. But refined in its own infernal way. This place was a scene of democratic decay. At a table near the window sat three men who looked as though they'd been poured into their chairs in 1997 and never fully reassembled. Their skin had the faint greyish cast of individuals whose primary light source was television. One blinked slowly at nothing in particular, another chewed with the patient dedication of a cow contemplating eternity.
Zombies?
Fenrir observed. No, I replied internally. Zombies have purpose, they move towards something.
Well, these move towards refills,
Fen said. Near the fruit machine, a cluster of women with sharp laughter and sharper eyeliner clutched fluorescent cocktails. The hair was sprayed into architectural defiance. One wore leopard print in a manner that suggested that she'd defeated that leopard personally. They cackled in overlapping bursts, circling an invisible sort of hierarchy.
Goblins.
Phaeton goblins at least understood contracts. These ones negotiated social dominance with Prosecco and passive aggression. A big man in a high-visibility vest slept upright in a booth, mouth open, emitting a low rumble that vibrated the condiments.
Troll,
Fenrir offered. Bridge adjacent, I replied dryly. Further in, a lone figure hunched over a laptop, nursing a half-pint as if it were a long-term investment. His expression was one of permanent grievance. He radiated the air of someone who had read half an article about something and would happily explain it to anyone unfortunate enough to make eye contact with him.
warlock without power.
Fen commented. Cruel, Will thought. Accurate. I moved through them and as before, space opened. Subtly, chairs shifted, conversations dipped. No one consciously registered me, but something old in their spines did. We reached the bar and blinked. Behind it stood a woman who appeared to have stepped directly out of 1986 and refused to apologise. Her hair was a monument, teased, lacquered, ambitious. Shoulder pads broadened her silhouette into something approaching military architecture. Her eyeshadow shimmered blue, defiantly. She looked at me, masticating something in her mouth that I really hoped was some sort of gum. She paused her mastication as her gaze travelled over my body, slowly, uncomfortably. "Well," she said, voice textured with decades of cigarettes and unfulfilled romance, "you're a bit of alright stuff, aren't you, love?" I just fucking stared at it. Fenrir lifted his head.
Hag?
He questioned. "She's not a hag," I returned. "I think. I wasn't really sure in this case. The woman had some sort of power, definitely. It was corrosive power, a power that would denigrate a person's soul. I considered her further. No, she's not a hag, but she is some sort of ancient predator disguised in synthetic fibres."
She's 60.
"Yeah, and doesn't look a day over 107.
Precisely.
The woman leaned forward slightly, exposing a wrinkly cleavage that was the whole point of her outfit to expose. A cleavage that was being supported by a creaking support structure of, dunno, as though it was fucking a fully scaffolded bra. That bra was probably the reason that her nipples did not dive into the beer pump strip trays. "What can I do for you, love?" I blinked in no response. She sighed and regarded the blood-red talons glued to the ends of her fingers, pretending to be fingernails. "What would you like me to do for you?" it continued as it chewed its cud. "Looks like me and you could cause some proper trouble," she continued as she winked almost coquettishly and patted the solid curl of her hair. I turned and made eye contact with my invisible wolf soul who sat next to me. We both shuddered, and it took me a few moments to get back to some sort of level of composure. "Pint of draft bass," I told her. She seemed to approve. "Proper man's drink," she replied with another wink, a wink that made my balls shrink back inside my body. Fenrir made a low mental sound of disapproval.
She would keep bones in jars, I reckon. She definitely keeps her face in one. I mean, you could peel that shit off and use it on next day.
Okay, please stop, Fen, I asked him. He knew me so well that he realised my tone was that of a genuine request and that I would be grateful if he did not try to continue any level of humour about this poor, unfortunate woman while she poured my beer with competent indifference to the laws of physics. The amber liquid settled into the glass with a respectable head. She placed it in front of me. "On the house if you smile at me again like that," she said, battering her cosmetic encrusted eyelids. I didn't smile, I told her in defence. "Oh, you did," she replied and lied. I took the pint in disgust. I'm not a piece of meat," I said in my head to Fen, who laughed hard in response. I gave her a fiver and turned away so I did not need to observe her any longer. The glass and the beer felt reassuringly solid. I clung to it briefly. It gave a minor comfort in a minor time of need. I surveyed the room again. The Phaeton Arms would have approved of the lighting, dim, forgiving, but where Phaeton held monsters who knew they were monsters, this place held humans convinced they were fine. I raised the glass to the room, offering the creatures there a salute, and brought the glass to my lips. The first sip was acceptable, malty, bitter, honest. Oi, shit. Well, at least it was an old-fashioned, honest fucking oi, and it had landed beside me like a drop plate.
"This should be entertaining,"
came to mind from Fen. I did not turn immediately. "Oi, mate!" The scent hit before the voice finished forming. Cheap lager, stale sweat, cigarettes, something perhaps medicinal and wrong. A man leaned into my peripheral vision. He looked in his mid-40s, but was probably in his late 20s as a resident of this particular establishment. He had a face that flushed the colour of poorly cooked ham, cheap ham. Not good ham, bad ham, the kind of ham that is cured with chemicals, that kind of ham. Fen butted in.
"Please shut the fuck up about ham."
The eyes in that misshapen head that had said oi at me were unfocused but ambitiously trying to meet mine. "Seen you before, or you have?" the man declared as he wiped his nose with his fake Stone Island jumper. He clearly hadn't. I felt it, the tightening, the thin electric filament of irritation stretching from my spine to my fingertips. Fenrir rose.
It approaches boldly.
I'm aware. The drunk swayed closer.
You look like one of them.
He faltered as he tried with difficulty to build a sentence with an alcohol-fuddled, or is it befuddled brain?
Befuddled,
said the wolf. Look like one of what? I asked and genuinely wondered.
Like one of them army blokes you do. You in the army? I bet you is.
Fuck's sake. I looked at my pint with a little nostalgia for only moments ago when I was enjoying it without any distractions before turning towards the man made of ham. I wish he were quiet, I told my wolf out loud, causing the man of ham to look for who it was that I was talking to. I imagined the man's neck in my hand as Nisha's had, been not half an hour before. It would take so little, a little twist, a push, a quiet rearrangement of small bones and cartilage to have my quiet pint back. The pub would continue, the world would continue, the fruit machine would chime, the knot goblins would continue to laugh, no one would understand what had happened, the man would just collapse. A venue of this distinct lack of quality must have seen its fair number of coronaries and strokes. It would not question a sudden death of six, would it? My jaw tightened, the wolf pressed closer.
He proper insults you with familiarity.
I think I know, I told Fen. The drunk reached out as if to clap me on the shoulder. My vision narrowed. He was going to try and fucking touch me. The world thinned. Then a different hand landed on my shoulder from someone unnoticed. That's not good. Someone unnoticed. That was a shock to both the wolf and me. This hand was firm and so confidently sure of itself that I did not tear the arm off at the shoulder as would be my natural normal response and want. Now, old chap, said a quiet, calm, impeccably educated voice at my side. I believe this gentleman was in the middle of something, it continued. I turned very slowly toward the voice. Wing Commander Montgomery Fortescue and Moustache stood there as though they had always been present. He was he was just his usual immaculate in an ancient tweed suit that suggested both authority and quiet disapproval of anything else. His expression was polite, almost gentle, and the drunk sort of blinked at him.
Who are you then?
Fortescue and his moustache smiled in a way that could have resolved minor wars. Just someone who would very much prefer you to enjoy a complimentary drink at the other end of the bar, sir. This chap and I have to converse about the important things of the day, if that's okay. Fortescue produced a note with effortless discretion and passed it to the bar hag. Another pint of whatever it is for this man, my treat, and one for yourself, mademoiselle. His gigantic, hairy caterpillar eyebrows waggled. The woman beamed. She actually kicked a heel as she turned and snatched the note from the wing commander's hand playfully. The drunk hesitated, confused by the sudden shift in social gravity. Fortescue's eyes sharpened by a fraction. And perhaps, he said softly, you might take it over there, old chap. The confidence of the wing commander's voice from decades of giving orders swayed the inebriated man's mind.
Right, yeah. Cheers, mate.
He soon shuffled away, confused but clutching at his unexpected liquid fortune. Silence settled for a second. I exhaled slowly. Fenrir receded, but not far. Montgomery did not immediately remove his hand. Do try, the wing commander murmured. Not to redecorate Weatherspoons. I would greatly appreciate a little self-control, if that's okay, old chap. He looked the place over. Although, judging by the decor and the bodies that are laid around there, it would be quite difficult to tell the difference. I took another slow sip of Bass. My annoyance had not vanished. It had simply been postponed. And that, well, that's just somehow fucking worse.
Brought to you in association with Grendel Press. This is Werewolf the Podcast, a serial killer drama.